Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the Chief. I'm joined by my buddy
Diagnostic 80 / Christopher McLeod of the Full Force and Talking Joes. How's it going, buddy?
Yes, well, yes, no. Yes, it's going. No, it's not going well.
Oh, what?
So I'm actually just going to go, I've had enough of it. I'm going straight
inside Chief's mind.
I'm frightening the listeners straight from the get-go.
Frightening me, because then you haven't said anything yet. Go on,
exactly. What is really grinding my gears, getting on my wick, monkey in the wrench, just putting me down, and it is Chief's big mouth.
That's your own mouth.
It's my own mouth, and I am most displeased. Mainly with the brain, because that informs what is coming out of my mouth.
True.
So I'll lay it out for you. A few weeks ago, a buddy of mine at work was on lunch, and he'd been to McDonald's, and he had like a Big Mac and I think a burger and nuggets and fries and a milkshake, and I was like, bloody hell, what are you doing, feeding the 5,000 there? And he goes, no, this is just normal for me. I was like, but a few years ago when I was in my old job, me and a buddy did like the 10 burger challenge, which is 10 cheeseburgers from McDonald's, quick race, loser buys all the burgers.
Blimey.
And on that scenario, that situation, if you will, my buddy did 7 and I did the 10, and it took me 32 minutes.
Not bad.
And yeah, I'm not sure what the benchmark is really. Well, I've got a kind of benchmark, but not for Joe Public.
I didn't know that was an actual challenge that was done.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, I said, jokingly, let's do the 10 burger challenge. He goes, yeah, maybe. And then today I said, what are you doing? Let's do the 10 burger challenge as a joke. And he goes, yeah, all right. And then the guy next to him said, yeah, I'm in. And then 2 other people said, yeah, we'll do it. And I was like, oh my, what started here?
So hang on, you'd have to buy everyone's burgers if you lost.
Well, we didn't enforce the loser buys.
Oh, okay.
It was just winner gets kudos.
Okay, fair enough.
And pride is maintained. And I thought, what, I'd do it. I haven't probably eaten meat in almost a year.
Wow.
So that was the first kind of sticking point, but I thought I'd go for it anyway. So we ordered 50 burgers, got them delivered, and all sat down in the group kitchen. Now, it was also, we kind of did this in honour of 4th of July. We're recording on the 3rd of July. Obviously, when this goes live, it will be the 4th of July.
Yep.
And Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest happens on Coney Island, I think it is, and it's part of the MLE, the Major League Eating Corporation, which is an American tour of the professional eaters. And the king of the hill, the top of the pile, is Joey Jaws Chestnut. Now, he has won the golden belt, the mustard belt, sorry, not the golden belt. He's won the mustard belt 11 times.
You know far too much about this.
And go and Google Joey Chestnut, and that is all you'll need to, you'll be like in awe of this man. So the last year, he set the record, I don't know if it was last year or year before. So basically, they're on the stage, there's like 10,000 people in the crowd watching, 10 minutes, eat as many foot-long hot dogs and buns as you can. Okay, foot-longs these are, and he holds the world record, which I think is 74 in 10 minutes.
Bloody hell.
So he has got a technique, most of them got the same technique, where they take the bun, dunk it in water, mushes it all down, makes it easier to go down, then he kind of just chains the hot dogs down. And this is live. It's live on ESPN. I'll be watching it live ESPN, 12 p.m. Eastern time. So that for me over here in the UK, that'll be 5 p.m. ESPN live. And in honour of that, we kind of did it today. So, we're doing 10 burgers, and basically he ate 74 hot dogs, which is 20,000 calories. So he consumed 10 days worth of food in 10 minutes.
That's dangerous, man.
So we were doing, I think ours worked out as 10 is 2,600 calories. So it's, what is it? It's 2,500 from man, I think. So it's basically a day's food in one meal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the 5 of us, here's how it shook down. In 5th place was L, who did 4 burgers.
Not bad.
And then quit. Then next in 4th place was Wacko Jacko, and he did 7 burgers and quit. In 3rd place was Andy the Repo Man, and he did 8.5 burgers.
I love these nicknames.
In 2nd place was the Chief, who was only one of 2 who completed the challenge, and did 10 burgers in 33 minutes. So I was actually a minute outside my PB, which is most upsetting.
That's not bad. It's all right.
And 33 minutes. And the winner was Andre, the silent assassin, who did 10 burgers in 8 minutes.
In how long?
8 minutes. I think he's training to go pro.
That is unreal. That is unreal.
He was the dark horse. So I work for a betting company, and someone had kind of priced up a book, and he was actually the outsider of the field, and he was just quietly going about his business. I tried the Joey Chestnut dunk in the buns, and it was horrible. Oh, man. And the reason why this is inside my mind is because for about... How long ago was that I did it? It was about 7 hours ago. For about 7 hours, I have felt like I literally wanted to die. Physically ill, mentally broken.
I thought you were going to say like this was a week ago or something.
No, this was today.
Just now. Wow.
So I was hallucinating, I felt faint, I was dizzy, I was stumbling around the office. I was literally it was not good at all.
That's insane. Well, you've only got yourself to blame.
And then on the way home, I bought myself some chips and curry sauce, obviously, because that is now the standard accompaniment to a Talking Joe episode. So anyone who's listening to this right now, if you haven't got it, pause it. Go out to your local chippy, get your chips and curry sauce, come back and rejoin the pod.
All the Americans are going to come back with like Doritos or something covered in like barbecue sauce. Like what? Yeah. I don't get what this is.
Yeah, it was. I regret doing it. Immediately, as soon as basically about 10 minutes before they arrived, I was nervous. I had the shakes, and I was like, I don't want to do it, and I couldn't buckle out. And I'd gone through this before previously, obviously did it in 32 minutes, but there was a couple of people giving it the Charlie Big Spuds, giving it the large ones, saying I'm going to do it, I can do 10 burgers in 20 bites in 5 minutes, blah, blah, blah. That was Andy Repo, and he actually was the one who didn't even finish it.
Wow.
So it seems easier than it is, but the burgers, when you get 7, you hit a wall. And
I can imagine, yeah.
They become dry and tasteless and horrible, but I dug deep, man. I went to places no man should have to go. And to the soul of me, I dived into Chief's soul, and I think I've lost a bit of that soul.
Inside Chief's soul.
Yeah, and I'm missing a part now in a burger-shaped hole. But there you go.
So it's more of an soul then, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. But yes, that's inside my mind. Don't do it. I feel bad. I regret doing it. But I know second place is the first loser, but winners don't quit and quitters don't win. So I'm still here living to tell the tale.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. How's your week been?
Slightly less in the calorie intake, I have to kind of say. But yeah, we're gearing up for the 4th of July. This morning, funnily enough, excuse me as I burp, all those burgers coming back. So early this morning, I had to take my driver's test for the second time in my life. Obviously, I passed it in the United Kingdom. And when I moved out here, over 2 years ago, I had a year's worth of I could just drive on my UK license.
Okay.
Got to the end of that and just never bothered to to go to the driver's centre and do all that kind of I had to do not a written test, but like a touch screen theory test, which I passed 100%. And this is kind of with very minimal studying. I went online and I looked at like a few of those kind of online driving kind of exam type things, like quizzes. Rinsed through that. I've been driving in the States for ages, so it's a lot of it was just kind of logical, I suppose, or just kind of common sense. Anyway, I've been putting off the driver's test for a while. I went and got my permit a couple of weeks back, just before we went to Joe Fest, just so Kate wouldn't have to do all the driving of all like 12, 13 hours of driving. So got the permit sorted. Went in this morning. First come, first serve. Dude came out with me, went in the car that I've been driving, a Toyota Camry, and I did the test. And I passed, again with flying colours, with just a few minor things that cropped up. One,
right,
when I was doing my parallel park...
You hit someone?
No, I killed 3 people, and you're allowed like 5 in the US.
Okay.
No, I was doing my reverse parallel park, and nailed that. That was all smooth, beautiful, lovely stuff. And for some reason, I didn't indicate out as I was about to pull away. And I realised as I did it, because we were in this, it was like, when you go like an industrial estate with no one about, yep. They had this thing kind of set up, and I looked in the mirrors and everything and went out, and I thought, well, there's no one about. And then as I pulled away, I'm like, oh, there's a habit that I've got, where I don't indicate every single time, even when there's no one about. And so, yeah, he picked me up on that, which was totally true. Like, I knew as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, God, I hope I don't fail because of that. Thankfully, it was a minor indiscretion. And there was another minor detail, but it wasn't a big one. So yeah, passed with flying colours, got back, very happy, and now I can just stop having that hanging over me, and now I can drive in the United States legally.
Boom, win.
Yes. So that's it. That's all. That's really. I mean, other than that, I've been editing my knackers off. I just finished. I did a little bit for Analog Toys. Tony Roberts down in Australia, mate. Or Bosnia, or whatever the accent I just did was. But he asked me to do what is my worst Cobra figure of all time, because he did like a top 10 for Cobra Convergence 4, which is happening right now this month of July. We've got a special episode of the Full Force dropping on the 4th of July as well, so it's gonna completely cross over with this episode as well, which is kind of going to be dropping on the 4th too. Man, I've got loads of work to do, that's all I'm saying. And I did a little clip where I talked about my least favourite Cobra figure, which you can find out if you watch Analog Tony's top 10 favourite Cobras on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in ANALOG, Analog, Toys, and you should, and don't take the OG out. But anyway, Analog Toys, and you should be able to, it's the most recent video, I think. If not, look for the top 10 favourite Cobras, okay?
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm doing it. Definitely. Everyone else should.
Do it!
Do it! Do it! Come on, kill me! I'm here! Come on, do it now!
Hate my decision as well, everybody. Hate my decision on the worst.
Okay, right. We will. I want to dig into some comics, though.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're going to start today with Special Missions 17, All in a Night's Work. Cover here. Stalker looks like he's throwing in some sort of gas or tear grenade in through a window. Muskrat's on the other side. Bad guy peeking out through the window. Like this cover.
Yeah, it's lovely.
He's even got the pin in his mouth, Stalker. Quality.
I've only just noticed that. I thought that was a bit of wall debris. Do you know what I mean? Like a bit of like crap on the wall behind him.
Yep.
That's the first time I've noticed that. Carry on.
Good one. Ron Wagner and Bob McLeod. Interiors, Larry Harmer, Herb Trimpe. Inks, Andy Mazinski. Letters, Phil Felix, and colours, Neil Yomtov. So this one, the Joe team is a hostage situation, and lots of members of the G.I. Joe team are sent here, and it's kind of a bit of intrigue about who's inside, etc. There's double crosses.
In Siliconville.
Yeah, why couldn't they say Silicon Valley?
I think it's just Larry doing, making up places as he does. I think I quite like this make-believe world with lots of different places in it.
Yeah. I think this is the first chronological appearance of Shockwave in the comics. Obviously, we had him last week in Real American Hero, but that was kind of out of sequence.
Yeah.
This is January 1989. I think we were a bit ahead when we were reading the Real American Hero issue, so I think this is possibly his first appearance.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some extreme special missions catch-ups in the next couple of weeks, aren't we?
Correct, yes. Yeah. But this one, yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to say it's my least favourite special mission yet. I
kind of have to agree on that. I think even though Trimpe's like the art on this one, I think it's a little bit hit and miss, and a little bit. It almost feels like there's some real rushed elements of it, and I'm not a massive fan. And I know this happens a lot in the G.I. Joe comics. I'm not a massive fan of the real lack of detail in the backgrounds. Yeah. I like there to be kind of lots of detail, and they tend to just go with block colours a lot of the time. And I know that's quite a lot of the G.I. Joe comics, and I don't dislike the G.I. Joe comics. I just think that sometimes I'd just like to have a little bit more going on in the background. And in a lot of these shots, there's loads of kind of like, I'd say like not dead space, but just a lot of space going on that I think would be nice to be filled. I'm not a massive fan of that scene when they're all surrounding the building and the helicopters are flying around it. It's just because you can't really see much of the building. Everything else is in colour. And then they've got the buildings like in black as if the lights are out, and they've got like spotlights on. So why can you see the floor? Do you know what I mean? Like I just feel...
Yeah. It's a strange one, because they spend about 6 or 7 pages of setup, which made me think it was going to be something completely different than what it is. It's almost like Dusty wakes the guys up in the middle of the night, some covert secret mission, they're going up in lifts and up through the huts, and then Stalker meets them with a C-130, blows off Dusty, he has to go back. But all of that is almost unnecessary, because then, like you say, you get to that bit in Siliconville where this weird square building, it's kind of like there's a building from, I think it's Real American Hero issues 6 and 7, way back with the October Guard.
Yeah.
And there's a silver building with no seams or no doors.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's just a weird square building with almost no entry point. And now here's another load of Joes, sneak peek, who appears to be in white. Was that an alternate costume he ever had as a figure? Or is that just the colouring?
That was his. I think it's just the colouring, but his original is it's kind of like that kind of
grey, is it?
Soft grey. But I think because of the background colour, they've had to do him a little bit more stark to kind of stand out. But yeah, I think it's just a colouring issue. There was no. It was Sneak Peek. He had 3 versions. He had the original, like kind of red and grey. He had the Night Force kind of awesome colour one, and then he had the even more awesome Tiger Force version, which was the only one we got in the UK, incidentally.
Cool. But I mean, he's there with Scarlet. I think it's only those 2, and then the other Joes show up. But yeah, the first 6 or 7 pages not really necessary.
No, it's not. I mean, you could start this issue at that scene with them surrounding the building, because it's not like their names don't get mentioned. It's not like you couldn't have them talk about. I think that might be Larry just kind of maybe shining a light on, no pun intended with that first panel of Dusty's, but Larry shining a light on, the always having to be ready to go, and the soldiers kind of having to be woken at all hours of the day and night or whatever to kind of just react to situations. But again, I agree with you. I don't really feel like it's necessary, other than to give a little bit of foreshadowing. But even then, there's not enough real information going on that they couldn't have been easily laid out in the next few panels of the rest of the story. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, then we see the villains of the piece inside, and you see Scrap Iron with I didn't know he had a little scar on his face, but
yeah, he does. Yeah.
Okay. You see Scrap Iron, and then you see a Techno Viper and a Toxo Viper, and then you see a load of balaclavaed, weird-looking people. And I'd forgotten this story, but immediately, as soon as one of them started speaking, I was like, BATs.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And that is all part of. I was thinking at the time, why aren't they just regular Cobra Troopers? What's the advantage of having BATs in silly masks? Why not just have? Why are they in disguise, the BATs? I still don't really understand that.
I mean, there was a lot, wasn't there? I mean, Cobra were protecting. What's the word?
It's the corrupt kind of officials. Is it the corrupt politicians?
Yeah, but they were trying to protect Cobra trying to protect their interest in this particular situation. And to do so, they couldn't, make it clear that they were involved. And obviously, they were found out to be involved. And it all turns out, at the end of it, that the Joes were being used, in a sense. I was
thinking, how were they ever going to disguise that? Because obviously, maybe it's the Techno Viper, the Toxo Viper, and possibly Scrap Iron end up putting lab coats on to pretend to be the hostages. A, what happened to the actual hostages? And B, how were they going to cover up the BAT's presence to not link it to Cobra anyway?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those issues that, you kind of read through it and you don't really see the problems until you get to the end and you start reading like the kind of explanation as to what Cobra were doing and why G.I. Joe were involved and all this kind of stuff. And you're right, these things kind of crop up and you're thinking, well, it's got a lot of holes in it, really. And I think, to me, the issue feels very rushed. It feels like we need to get these guys involved in a story. How do we, how's that going to happen? Just bang it out real quick, and then here you go. Without a lot of thought going into the overall story of the particular issue. It's a shame, really, because I as much as I'm the same as you, as much as the issue was a bit disappointing, the lineup of characters is solid. Like, Shockwave, Hardball, Stalker, Sneak Peek, Scarlet, Scrap Iron, the Bats, as you said, Muskrat's cool. So it's like Hit and Run. Wow, I forgot Hit and Run. It's a really good roster of characters, and I don't think they're done justice with this particular
story. I think
a
couple of bits I did like was something that harkened back to you had mentioned when you covered Hardball on your Talking Toy section.
Yeah.
He could pinpoint a grenade in a 10 centimetre square box or whatever, and I think it's him who's blooping some frags right in through the kind of tiny little window slits.
Bloop them, Hardball.
Where he bloops them right through
blooped.
there.
I like that.
And then right near the end, Stalker basically just starts punching government officials in the gut. Always a fan of that.
He does not care, does he?
No.
Saxon, you. Yeah,
That's
totally.
That's it.
Yeah, he does punch him, doesn't he? I thought he'd need him in the at first, but no, that's a punch to the gut, and then grabs his hair and picks him up again. I mean,
yeah, I love it.
No messing. And then there's that like, you know, that cute little end piece to actually explain what happened, where Hardball wakes Muskrat up to tell him what happened, and Muskrat's like, "Did we shoot anyone we shouldn't have done?" He's like, "No, shut up, we did our job."
To sleep. Yeah,
yeah, that's cute.
But
yeah,
I mean,
I
look,
agree.
It's not bad at all. You know, it's not a bad comic.
It's average. Yeah.
Obviously, the standard, you know, of the special missions especially has been high.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where it, you know, falls down. Yo, Joage, what are you saying?
I'm going to give it a 5.
You give it a 5. What's this? This is issue 17. Chris gives it a 5. I'm looking at my lowest special mission score to date, and that was actually issues 14 and 15, the one we just read, In From the Cold and Into the Fire.
I gave that a
6. I gave that a 6. I think this is worse. I am also going to give it a 5.
Yay! Why am I celebrating that? That's weird.
Yeah.
Yes, it got a 5.
Right, let's move on. We're going to class the next one as a 3-issue arc, starting with issue 89.
A thrark.
Yep, let's do all as it's an arc, we'll just do all 3 covers first. First one, issue 89 is Mean Dog, and here you've got Wildcard in the Mean Dog gun turret, pointing towards the reader, Hardball in the front, and yeah, I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable cover.
It's pretty gangster. I'm like, I really want something to be going on in that red background, because the fact that it's a very similar colour to the Mean Dog body on the, like, lower on the page, I don't know, it makes it look like it makes it look unfinished to me. It makes it look like it's on a they're trying to do some sort of green screen. And you know, they're going to add that in post afterwards. But no, it's a cracking cover, and Wildcard looks awesome. Hardball looks really good, and he actually looks like really detailed in the actual characters' drawings. And the Mean Dog, from what you can see, looks freaking awesome.
Yes, yeah, it's a good one. I mean, like you say, the actual image quality, background, not so much.
Yeah.
Moving on to 90, recurring themes. Got a lot of time for this cover.
Yes, absolutely.
This is Road Pig, mallet in hand, clutching rock and roll under one arm, and Clutch being dragged by the shirt. This feels to me like a very Marvel-ish cover.
Yeah.
In that, you know, I could see this kind of thing maybe on a Thor.
I was going to say Thor,
kind of doing the same.
Yeah, the Hulk
or Captain
something.
America or the Hulk. Yeah, definitely. It feels like a Marvel cover.
Big time. I agree.
Good stuff. And then
can I just say I love the arrow that says brainwave scanner chamber.
Yeah.
It's like, there you go. There's all the information you need.
Yeah, love it. And then 91, No Simple Solutions. This is actually Andy Kubert, who's long time Marvel artist now for DC, and nice cover here.
Yeah, totally.
Snake Eyes looking bad. Scarlet kind of back to back with loads of red ninjas. Sun glinting off his sword. Nice cover.
It is, and again, like I suppose the background is dealt with here by red ninjas, and it does look really bad.
First 2 issues here, 89 and 90, is Mark Bright on pencils. We saw him back on issue 36, I think it was, and maybe another fill-in issue, but now he's going to have a bit more of a run.
Gorgeous art. Gorgeous
issues. And then issue 91, art is by Tony Salmons, but
we'll get to that.
Obviously, when we get to it.
I must have, can I just say from the off, if you look at like the special missions issue we've just seen, and then you look at this A Real American Hero issue, you'd think they were completely like separate universes. You'd think that one was it wasn't G.I. Joe at all. And then you look at this one, and the amount of detail, like they've gone like, you know, you've got clouds in the sky for one, so they're not skimping on that. It's not just like black or blue or purple or something. And you've just got loads of stuff going on in every single panel, and it's all very detailed, and the characters look great, and there's no action in it where I look at any of the panels and go, oh, they could have done better with that. Do you know what I mean? Everything is absolutely perfect, I think, in terms of art in this first issue especially.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to do it as a, like I said, you know, as a 3-issue arc, but 89 and 90 kind of carry over a lot of storylines, and some of that obviously bleeds into 91. So the basic kind of premise here is, initially you've got a look at Broca Beach and how Zartan is trying to turn it around, and Clutch and Rock and Roll kind of stumble on there, and then you get a nice sort of protracted fight scene, and then there's another little storyline with the ninja stuff. So just covering that first kind of storyline. My first question is actually a question. The first thing I want to say is, was Clutch always kind of portrayed as this kind of beach bum? Because he kind of gets over-exaggerated, or over-egg the pudding, if you will, of this beach bum persona.
Well, rock and roll.
I think it does stray into Clutch as well, though. I think, does it or not? Am I?
Well, I always thought of Clutch as he's like a gearhead, so like mechanic, kind of grease monkey, womanizer. That's where I see his character, and then rock and roll is the laid back, chilled kind of beach bum guitarist kind of guy. I don't know what are you talking about specifically in the comic where he talks about being a beach bum or something.
I think just some of the things, he says, he says, oh, this used to be a funky beach town, and he's talking about going to the amphitheatre where Daisy the diving horse used to perform. Well,
yeah, I think that's just more about him. That's about him being from this area and surprised that it's been changed. It's got a different name and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure necessarily if he is really portrayed as a beach bum. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think, honestly, I don't know. I didn't really get that from the issue either, necessarily. Yeah, but, cool. Agree to disagree in that sense.
Yeah. But, yeah, they've kind of stumbled. They've gone back there for a little bit of vacation. I think it's probably going way back to the issues where they tried to have a surfing vacation previously and got kind of locked up with the Dreadnoks, and now it's kind of happening again. And
I mean, he is friends with rock and roll. They are very close, aren't they, in this kind of stuff? So you could, you could say that maybe that is an element of his personality. Yeah,
this time they've kind of stumbled. Actually, I've just seen a really cool bit here on page 3, where Zartan is kind of greeting a couple of Cobra kids who've got Cobra T-shirts on, and they're mentioning it's much easier to skate here on the boardwalk than it is on Cobra Island, which is quite cool. And there's a picture on the wall of supposedly Sylvester Stallone with Cobra underneath.
Brilliant.
So obviously around this time, I imagine the film Cobra came out.
Stallone is a cop called Cobra, the strong arm of the law.
Brilliant. I hadn't spotted that before.
No, I hadn't either. When you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, quality. And they've done up Broca Beach, so they've got little shooting galleries, and they've even taken time to repaint a shed load of vehicles and put them into fairground rides.
That has to be a custom somewhere. Someone needs to customise a fairground diorama with loads of Cobra vehicles painted like that. I did notice as well the ferret gets a paint job much like the Tiger Force ferret, which I thought was interesting, like that yellow and red and stuff like that. So it's interesting that was actually a colour scheme adopted by the Tiger Force repaint of that vehicle, like further down the line. I think that's quite funny.
I think it's a nice touch. I don't know if it makes it feel a little bit not low key or low rent, but I kind of like to imagine Cobra as this massive organisation with not endless funds, but almost an endless supply of troops and vehicles, and it just felt a little bit odd that they're taking a massive amount of time to repaint like 8 vehicles when they probably could have just stored them in a warehouse 5 minutes away, and then they immediately just get on them when the Joes kind of discover that they're in a Cobra town, because fortunately for the G.I. Joe team, the Cobra cops wear rings with Cobra insignias on them, so they're easy to spot. And they have names like Pythias, I think, and Damon.
Yeah, very biblical names, aren't they?
Bit of a giveaway that this is Cobra Town. So they escape Zartan and the Dreadnoks, and actually chase, but they actually mount a full attack. I'm seeing here there's a truck which is unloading his tanks, there's fangs flying out, there's pogos, there's that Dreadnought cycle thing, ferrets,
For one car.
They want to shut them down. I guess they want to stop them from radioing out to the rest of the G.I. Joe team that this is a Cobra Town. But I wonder, how would they stop just Joe public civilians coming to Broca Beach?
Yeah, I mean, clearly they haven't. I think the police that they've got in place are supposed to, pull everyone over that might be a bit weird. But again, if you don't know that it's there and they're not making a big deal about it being there, then it doesn't matter. You can have people going through it. The problem is, if you're wearing a Cobra ring as a Cobra police officer, that's a bit of a giveaway.
Yes. Get a couple of your favourite boys here as well, Repeater and Hardball, in the back of the Mean Dog, along with one of my faves, Wildcard. They just happen to be in the area, do they? I know they unload off of a transporter, which is on the motorway or the freeway.
No, they have to radio it in, don't they? So I suppose that maybe they're the closest to that area.
Yeah, possibly. There's a good bit where he reverses off the transport and he goes, honk. But this art here is, Bright does a great job.
Oh, yeah.
And all these action scenes are fantastic. In fact, pretty much all the art is fantastic.
Yeah, the Mean Dog looks fantastic in this artwork, and it's just really cool. And again, it's very similar to the introduction of the Rolling Thunder. You know how it's like, we're going to introduce a vehicle and it's going to just do amazing things the entire issue.
Because we had seen the Mean Dog previously, but it hadn't really been installed into the action as much as it is here. Also, while I remember, go check out the Facebook group, G.I. Joe, whatever it's called, Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast, because one of the members, Mark Seddon, posted a really good article about MD Bright and his art and how he got on with Larry, and he knew him from a band, and how Larry came to him and asked him to change some stuff with his art, and it's a really good piece worth reading, so go and check that out. But yeah, this is great action, lovely shot of Zanzibar in his pogo. I didn't realise he had 2 grenades literally on his collar.
Yeah.
So just in case he needs them at tight spots. But the Mean Dog literally is just pummeling everything. And another thing that Mean Dog says, don't worry, their armament can't affect us. This can stand up to much more. But a lot of vehicles, not only in G.I. Joe, but I think in general around this kind of period for toys, didn't kind of put the drivers or passengers under any kind of cover. So they're all exposed. It's not like real, I can't think of many military vehicles where drivers and personnel are literally exposed on the outside of the vehicle. And I guess that's just from a marketing/design point of view, where you want to show off. You don't want to hide all the figures inside the vehicle. You want them kind of on display.
Yeah.
So,
I think the Warthog did the best job of that, where it has 3 kind of spots at the front, Sergeant Slaughter's kind of second vehicle. And it's got these 3 little kind of driver sections at the front, but they can stick out the top, or they can sit inside, and you can close the hatches. And it's like that. I think that makes the most sense in these situations. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the ongoing jokes in the G.I. Joe community that G.I. Joe vehicles have no coverage whatsoever.
Oh right, okay. I didn't realise that was actually a thing.
The Havoc. I mean, Cross Country sitting on top of a chair. Right. On top of the Havoc out in it's like all of these vehicles have like 0 protection. Yeah,
I mean, these guys take a full assault like on page 25 and completely unharmed. I mean, I don't mind that at all. And then the Wildcard even gets in on the act when Zanzibar's pogo's limping away, and the sound effects are gung, wonk, shlug, clunk, grunch. As he limps away, and then Wildcard literally just runs him over with a crunch.
I love the sound effects.
No, crunk even, yeah. But unfortunately for Rock and Roll and Clutch, who think they've got away, boom! No, with a wonk, their vehicle is stopped because Road Pig has literally hammered in their engine block.
Massive wonkers, the lot of them.
Massive wonkers, yeah. Title of the episode.
Done.
And then, that kind of leads into the next issue, where we see what happens to Rock and Roll and Clutch. And they've actually been. This is quite a cool piece. They're in a prison, a Cobra prison, which is underground, underneath a bowling alley, which Baroness and Zarana access by going to the end of a lane where all the pins get taken away.
Was it sound protection? She mentions
good sound protection, and when they get down there, she's like, "Who's she got prisoner? She's got some sort of tax accountant or something prisoner." Because
salesman from rival pyramid scams.
Yeah,
IRS investigators.
Yeah. When I get out of here, I'm going to audit you to death. Quality. Then they take the Joes out, and they take them to underneath the cinema, and the 3 films that are showing today at the Cineplex are Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day!
Groundhog time.
1,000 people freezing their butts off waiting to worship a rat.
And I don't know if that's a reference to Rock and Roll and Clutch having previously tangled with the Dreadnoks, maybe?
Yeah.
Not sure. Then the other films are Ronco Vegematic Massacre.
I used to have one of the original Vegematics, and I loved it. But now Ronco has introduced a new one. Thank you, Ronco.
The Vegematic is better than before.
And Night of the Living Yuppies.
It has been quite a time for the yuppie, the young, upwardly mobile professional. What with someone putting out a yuppie handbook and with Newsweek making the yuppie a cover story. Well, we are thrilled to report yet another milestone, the official social debut of the yuppie.
Amazing.
Quality.
Again, cracking titles.
Yeah. There's another good bit of signage at the beginning of the issue. Zarana and the rest of the Dreadnoks have gone to this is on the steps of the former lodge hall in Broca Beach on the Jersey Shore. They've gone to seek an audience with Destro and the rest of higher command, and above the entrance there's a cobra and the signage which says the Cryptic Order of Benevolent Reptilian Apostates. And that is where they are, which obviously stands for Cobra. And yeah, you get this is kind of a bit of a shakeout issue, because like I say, you've got all the Cobra higher command here, and Destro's kind of acting like, the school teacher / the authority figure, and all the others are kind of like, little kids, and he's almost putting them in their place. He's drawn up a new regime, if you will, of positions for all the main characters, and he's making people work with people they don't want to work with. So Mindbender's got to work with Darklon, and Zarana's got to work with Baroness, and Cobra Commander's working with Voltar. So he's kind of setting up, obviously he's got his own interests at heart, but he's kind of setting up other little tandems, and they all kind of just they make a fuss, but I guess they go along with it.
Yeah, and it's basically the whole thing of them needing organisation and him just being the one that's going to grab everyone by the collar and shake him. And it's funny from Destro, because he's known for his big collars.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to catch up with what happens to Rock and Roll and Clutch here, then they actually, like you mentioned on that cover, they're going to the brainwave scanner, and it looks exactly the same as when Snake Eyes was strapped into it back in, I think it's issue 23, nice little town called Springfield maybe. And this is interesting because they want to plant information inside their heads and send them back to the pits to kind of wreak havoc.
Yeah.
And this carries on into issue 91, and I'm not sure how the brainwave scanner works, because you kind of see the Dreadnoks trashing stuff in Clutch's memories. There's some great scenes where they're trashing his car. Torch kicks his girlfriend in the gut. Maybe that's what you were thinking about when you were thinking about Stalker.
Yeah.
They assault the guy who gave him his first job. He gets an absolute whooping. Zarana's crushing up his toys. So where are they doing that, though? Because the Cobra people aren't strapped into the brainwave scanner. So how are they?
I think it's all
How does it work?
I think from what I can gather from there, they're just programming that information in, and that's what's happening. They're just accessing his memories, and they're programming information in. They're not like all linked into it, kind of wreaking havoc in there.
So they've got some IT specialists who've grafted up this sort of program of them destroying stuff, and then they've fed that into the brainwave scanner.
I'm guessing so. But you're right, yeah, because all of a sudden they're all kind of out there talking about it and watching it happen. So
yeah.
Just to kind of clarify, the Mean Dog's first appearance was in G.I. Joe issue 72.
72, and we're now on 89.
Yeah, so this is the second, or probably multiple appearances since then.
Yeah, there you go. But I don't think it didn't feature as a predominant vehicle. It was just backing people up or whatever.
Seems weird that they've waited this long to kind of give it some real shine, but yeah, it's interesting they call the issue Mean Dog as well. That's the focus. Maybe they were trying to sell it. Maybe it was like, we're a bit low on sales. Can you do an issue about the Mean Dog? Possibly.
Yeah, it's good. Possibly, yeah, it's good. It does a good job. Takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Crunk,
in terms of those guys, in terms of Rock and Roll and Clutch, we don't really see much more of them in this arc. Obviously, what's going to happen to them we'll get to at a later date. Before we go on to the ninja stuff, just wrapping up here what happens. There's some cool bits with Zanzibar. He's now been taken captive, but the good old Cobra lawyers are on the case.
God, these lawyers are amazing, aren't they?
I tell you what, also, this is kind of a thing, especially from Marvel Comics. A lot of people have blue hair.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is just a colouring choice to, maybe it stands out better than just, you can get more definition, I guess, than just having black hair. But
that's why they do it.
I never really questioned it as a kid, and I still don't really have a problem with it now. But I should do, shouldn't I? You should have a problem that everyone's got blue hair. Not everyone, but there's no just complete jet black hair.
It's like you say, it's because you can't do any detail or show any. It looks odd when you just do a flat black hairstyle, like that's just like one of those old school comic techniques that have always been in play. To me, it just looks like shiny black hair, which is quite weird. It kind of plays a trick on your brain, doesn't it?
It does. It plays a trick because Clutch has got it, Baroness, the lawyer, but I never really, as a kid or even now, it doesn't really, like you said, feel out of place. It's my brain's being tricked to think, oh, that's normal.
Yeah.
Everyone's got blue hair instead of black hair. But yeah, the lawyer, there's a cool bit where he pops in, doesn't he? And he said, you're in a lot of trouble. You're looking at 10 to 20 years minimum. And one of the, Duke there, he says, aren't you being a tad pessimistic about your client's chances? I wasn't talking about my client. I was talking about you. And he's going to basically sue G.I. Joe.
And
forget about the fact that Zanzibar was in a weapon of mass destruction. We don't worry about that.
Crazy. And yeah, that list of things that he throws at them, and like the lawyers are insane in Cobra. It's like it's such an easy get out thing for a story, isn't it? It's like, oh, you need those guys out of prison? No worries.
Lawyers on the case. And then that's kind of wraps up all that sort of stuff. And then now we need to chat about the Zartan and the /ninja stuff. Now, this kind of starts with there's a guy in San Francisco being shown around by, an estate agent and, what they called in the USA, a realtor.
Real estate agent
like
or a realtor,
yeah.
Or a douchebag.
And it turns out to be Storm Shadow's old place, and there's bullet holes, references to that quality issue 85 SFX, where the battle took place. And this guy's showing him round, and he's giving a nice story about what happened here, and there's people dead in the street, and but firefights and swords. And then he turns the TV on, and there's news of some Russian sailor who is he's defected or something, and he's been washed up on the shores. And it actually turns out obviously to be this guy in the building, who then turns out to be Zartan. So question one is, why was Zartan there?
So Zartan was looking at he was basically scoping the place out because he was looking. I think that's a good question.
Because next we see him,
because he's looking for somebody, isn't he?
He's gone to the Presidio, the military base there.
Jinx. He's looking for Jinx.
He's looking for Jinx. So do you think that's why he was there?
Yeah.
He's gone. Why has he gone to see a real estate agent? To get access to the property, you want to just get into the property.
God knows. I mean,
is it just to shoehorn in that little bit of story arc?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we don't know where he's been, do we? Last we saw him, he went into the drink, and in that Volkswagen camper van, and we never saw him since. So is it kind of just explaining?
Yeah.
He's washed up.
Basically, he's got on that boat, and then he's killed that guy, and he's taken his identity, and then he's escaped.
Yeah.
And then he is in this situation where he's looking for Jinx. I'm guessing he's just trying to. He's on the offensive, trying to get rid of these people, isn't he? He's trying to kill them so that they don't kill him. And then obviously he bumps into, on his travels of changing into lots of people and trying to get access to find Jinx and whoever he can find. He bumps into the Blind Master,
right?
And then they have that kind of set to where the Blind Master's like, I know it's you. You can change into whoever you want. It doesn't bother. It doesn't affect me. I can smell you. I can smell you from a mile off, kind of thing. And then those two have this off-panel fight while another kind of story continues.
Well, just quickly jumping back to issue 90 there. This just kind of struck me in that article I said to read about Mark Bright, where Larry he mentions that he was far too stuck into trying to draw vehicles and characters exactly like the toys. And I kind of get that feeling where Zartan's gone in disguised as General Hollingsworth to the Presidio, and you can see Bazooka and Rock and Roll and Footloose, have kind of been alerted, and they're drawn very, very much like as accurate to the figures as can be, I think, rather than kind of loosely just doing them. It feels like he's got those file cards right in front of him, and he's going all out for it.
Yeah.
And maybe I think that's what wore him. I think that's what wore him down a little bit. He was just way too much referencing, etc. And I think maybe later on, Larry said to him, "Look, don't worry about it. Just as long as you're putting a likeness in, they don't have to be panel for panel the same as the figures." But yeah. So then, like you say, we get the ninjas. Who you got? You got Jinx, Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, and Scarlet.
Correct.
Are up in the cabin, just having a peaceful little campfire. Timber goes out. He thinks there's something out there. Comes back with a bit of red cloth in his mouth and an arrow in him. Storm Shadow's then in full garb, and it's a red ninja wants a one-on-one with him.
Yep. And there's something quite interesting as we go from one issue to the next in here, because I take it we're also talking about the next issue, aren't we?
Yeah, 91. Yeah, definitely.
So what kind of I noticed was that, first off, Timber turns up with an arrow in his back, or what looks like, his back. And then in the next time we see him in the following issue, which is drawn by a different artist.
Yep, Tony Salmons.
And I have to say,
Go on.
I absolutely despise the art in this issue.
Okay.
Like, I just cannot find any redeeming feature for pretty much every single panel. I find it really, really poor. The proportions are so weird. The choice of action poses are really odd. Like, he seems to use really awkward action poses when, yes, that might be the way someone stands when you strike them with the sword or whatever, or when the swords clash. Yeah, there might be a position like that in reality. But on a comic, you kind of have to cheat a little bit. You have to make them look like almost really epic in every single panel. And one thing I really didn't like was how quickly and how comically you're talking about, and I mean comically in a funny sense, not in a in comic way.
Yep.
But there's this one scene, this very serious battle between Storm Shadow and this Red Ninja, who is after Storm Shadow because he blames Storm Shadow for the death of the Hard Master. They're all Arashikage ninjas, that the Red Ninjas, which is like a big reveal. It's like a new reveal.
Yeah, because the last time we'd seen them, they were with Zartan, weren't they, in his shack when Fred 7 went to kill him. Yes, yep.
And so because of that kind of very serious tone that, he's blaming Storm Shadow, not because he knows fully well Zartan did it. He killed the Hard Master, but he blames Storm Shadow for bringing Snake Eyes, the outsider, into the clan in the first place, and that caused all the issues. So because of that, I'm like it's all very serious, and it's all, oh my God, this is like, a really important battle. And then they have this like fight near a waterfall, and he falls through the waterfall, and there's this very kind of like Goonies panel where he comes across this dead Fred, where there's this bit of writing on the wall in the background, which again is done very poorly because it's like a flat brown background with then this lettering that, you'd kind of think, make it look like Rockwall or something, I don't know, anything. And it says, "Here lies Fred, no matter what he
did in life.
No matter what he did in life, he died well." Again, it's not even written very well enough for me to actually read it properly. Yeah. And so, like, Storm Shadow kind of sees the guy, and he's got, like, this gun. He's holding this gun as well, like an AK, I think it is. And he falls onto it and grabs it, and it's all very, like, kind of, very quick. And then all of a sudden he turns around, and the Red Ninja cuts the gun in half, and then they fall out of the waterfall. And I'm thinking, what was the point of that? Like, what is the point of that?
Yep.
And B, even if that has to be included in the comic, why on earth why doesn't the artist make that flow better? Maybe have Storm Shadow fall upon this guy, and from a different angle have his reaction in another panel, and then go to the ninja cutting the sword in half, or trying to cut him in half, and he blocks it with the gun. It just seems really, I don't know, it just seems really unnatural and doesn't work for me in any way, shape or form. And then the fight between the Blind Master and Zartan is just hideous.
I quite like it. I quite like that waterfall scene where he jumps in and he cuts it. He cuts through the water, and then he finds Fred, which is the dead Crimson Guardsman from when they assaulted Snake Eyes in the cabin back in issue 31, I think, 32.
Yeah.
I agree that the art is difficult at times, proportionally wise, and background and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know what it is, and I know I'm in the minority, but I quite like it.
I get the homage. I just don't understand. I just don't like the art. I don't think it paints any of the characters in like really good. I think, all right, okay, same panels, better art, and I would have a different opinion, 100%. Yep. Proportionally, I think it's horrible. I think there's that scene where he cracks the gun in half. I mean, even then there are things on it that I don't like. I don't like the fact that the Red Ninja's face is covered. I don't like that, and you can just see his eyes, but very disproportionately at the top of his head, kind of poking through. His position of his arms look really all over the place. The fold lines look random, and they don't look natural either. I don't know, it just really bugs me.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll stop moaning now. Apologies to everyone that does like this art, including yourself.
No, I don't think there's probably many. So that's fine. Do you think Larry was building up this particular Red Ninja to be another character, or was it just? I don't mind the inclusion of this kind of storyline of the Red Ninjas being Arashikage and him wanting revenge.
Nothing wrong with the story.
It does feel a bit quick that it all just suddenly happens. It was like, oh, what's this? They're Arashikage. Oh, they've got a kind of a red leader. Oh, now he's dead, etc. It does feel a bit quick, but I don't mind it. I think I'm okay with all that.
I don't mind the story. 100% don't mind the story. I just think the art really lets it down. I mean, and when did Timber turn into a bear?
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
What is that? I mean, I know it's the perspective that he's closer to the camera as well, but for one, the fact that he's bigger than than everyone else on the page, and then he's drawn in such a way that makes him look like a bear. It's so weird. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. I like. No. I don't know. I'm really not a fan. And like I said, I think if the art was better, I'd love that fight scene with Storm Shadow and the Red Ninja.
The fight scene between the Blind Master and Zartan. Again, I don't mind the art here at all, but some of the motivations I'm not sure of. So basically, Zartan, there's a bit where he's like, "Do it, kill me," because of the shame of Professor Onahashi. He killed himself. Do it. What are you waiting for? When he's saying to the Blind Master, "Do it, kill me," he doesn't really want that. He's calling his bluff, I assume. He's basically trying to lull him into a false sense of security.
No, I don't know.
Because then, literally a page later, he kills the Blind Master. You have no idea the pain I've lived with since Professor Onahashi killed himself. Do it, because the Blind Master's got a knife. What are you waiting for? And Blind Master doesn't do it because he's stopped by Tyrone. Now, if you go back, it was very brief. There was some street hood called Tyrone, some sort of 15-year-old skateboarding purse snatcher, and who the Blind Master took under his wing. And now he's found... he's been looking for him. He's his sensei. He's found the Blind Master in this alley, and he's saying, "Stop! Don't do it. You've taught me that violence isn't the answer. So leave it, walk away." So Tyrone leaves. Blind Master, drops the knife and goes to walk away, and then suddenly Zartan just stabs the Blind Master and kills him. So I'm not sure when Zartan was saying to the Blind Master, "Please kill me, kill me, kill me." I wonder if it was just kind of a bluff to the Blind Master to let his guard down so that Zartan could kill him, but you think perhaps he did want to die.
Yeah, well, in the fight, you're right. It's out of character that he kills him, because afterwards he's like, "Oh, what have I done? I'm so sorry," and he's remorseful about it.
Yeah, it just feels like he's gone from wanting to kill the Blind Master, then wanting to die, then killing the Blind Master, then regretting the decision.
Yeah.
Literally in the space of like 3 pages, which is probably about 2 minutes.
Could you attribute that to? And it's never really highlighted with Zartan, but he has got a lot of mental health issues, and obviously in his original file card, which had to be changed, I think a little way through the run because of the mental health organisation having an issue with what was put in. Yeah, it said he was a paranoid schizophrenic in the original card, and then I think it was the mental health organisation or someone of that. In the US had an issue with it and forced the change of the file card, like the running change. So you do get you get basically a Zartan and his chameleon swamp skier figure boxed. You get one with that card and one with another.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I don't know if that's being utilised or not really. Again, it's because it's not highlighted in the comic as often or at all. Because he's always very Zartan is always very on the level, isn't he? He's always he knows what has to be done. He's always focused. He always usually gets things done. And he has the Dreadnoks are all below him. So it kind of elevates his personality even higher because they're so dumb and just rubbish. So I think, and I love the Dreadnoks, don't get me wrong. If anyone thinks I think that, I mean as in terms of personalities. So in this case, I don't know, this kind of shows him fighting with himself as well, flip-flopping between... just kill me, and then getting the opportunity to... Cause I think he's protecting himself, because he says, doesn't he, "You were going to kill me."
Yeah.
And that's when the Blind Master says, "No, I wouldn't have done so," and all this kind of stuff. And then he confides in Zartan and tells him that he'd forgiven you.
Professor Onahashi.
Onahashi had forgiven him, so that's what makes him remorseful. Yeah,
and then you get the big kind of reveal at the end, or the twist is... Tyrone's slumping off, and then, wait a minute, the Blind Master comes out of the alley, but wait a minute, he's been killed by Zartan. Okay, so now Zartan is pretending to be assuming the guise of the Blind Master.
Yeah,
and,
it's kind of
he says,
yeah.
a clean slate, that's right, a new beginning, like being reborn. So now you're kind of led to believe that, okay, Zartan is being written out, possibly, as a good guy, but I think we all know that, he's going to actually, yeah, I can't even... Again, it's been a long time since I've read these, but I'm struggling to think about when his next appearance is, but we'll come to it, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, we'll be able to find out live.
Find out live. Just before we Joe this one, I want to read out a letter that is in the back of this issue, and this scumbag, Shane Cool Nicholson, he was a kid at the time. I guess he's probably still a scumbag now as an adult. But I'm going to read out his letter. It says, Dear G.I. Joe magazine, I'm writing concerning your magazine. It has been pretty lousy lately, starting with issue 61. You shouldn't have killed Cobra Commander. I'm not that upset, but a lot of other people are, and with them mad, you're losing a lot of readers. Then, the issues after that haven't been exciting at all. Issue 82, Weeding Out, was completely unrealistic. Duke is supposed to be a nice guy. Not here. Here he is a tough, macho, put-on kind of guy, and rude too. On page 6, wow, nobody makes you commence chewing. Back on page 3, at the top, who the heck are those other Joes? There are no such people as Funky, Blister, Jody and No-Show. After Budo, Repeater and Lightfoot 8, each of their faces were all scraggly because they haven't shaved. And when they woke up, they were shaved. Your magazines are really cheap, and so are the people who write them.
Wow.
And so are the people who write back to the kids, who write to Postbox to the Pit. They're always putting people down. My father, who is a lawyer, is very displeased. He has thought about a lawsuit, but he doesn't want to waste his time. Shane Cool Nicholson, address withheld.
Wow. What did Larry respond with?
So Larry responded, because he responded to pretty much all the letters. Yeah, everybody's entitled to his or her opinion, but this one about putting kids down in Postbox to the Pit really baffles me. Having gone back and read all the letters pages, I couldn't find a single answer that was less than cordial. Of course, if someone writes me a nasty letter full of vile insults, slander and unsubstantiated accusations, I might be tempted to be a bit pithy in my reply, but I certainly don't tell anyone that his mother dresses him funny. Larry.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Unsubstantiated fantasy. Yeah, that's a right there.
So if you're listening to the show, you're no longer welcome. No, that's all right. Yeah, if you repent your sins, you're more than welcome.
No, I don't think. No,
still not welcome.
Just off, mate.
Well, yeah. Joe it for me.
Hard to say.
Tricky.
Really.
This is tricky for you because I know you like 89 and 90.
It's the art that makes or breaks a lot of issues for me. But I do like the plot and the story with what Larry was doing in all three. So the art does not do enough damage to bring the whole thing down because obviously, two against one. So I'm going to go overall. I'm going to give it a healthy and generous 7 at the top end.
Okay, I'm giving it a 7.
Yes.
Pretty much for what all you said there. I actually
don't say it. Don't say you prefer his art because I will stop being your friend.
No. I don't prefer the art. I prefer Mark Bright's art pretty much every single time to a Tony Salmon's art issue. But I think I prefer the storyline stuff in that was more in issue 91 than I do in the 89 and 90. But as a package, as a package, not my package, as this package, it's a solid 7 for me. So there you go.
I don't want to upset anybody who is fans, and I certainly don't want to upset the artist. I think because obviously we said this last time in an issue that he did. I think it was that Destro, the kind of Castle Destro issue, not too long ago. That some panels are absolutely gorgeous, and then all of a sudden there'll be this weird proportioned character, and I'm just not a fan of that. And unfortunately, it does take me out of the comic.
Yeah.
But
anyway. I think that's the last Tony Salmon's art on issues, so you're safe. But having said that and talked about comics, we talked about toys a little bit, but for our toy specialist, we need to go to Chris Talks Toys.
Chris Talks Toys. Dun, dun, dun. Yes. Okay, and this one, I've decided to go for another vehicle and driver combo. I think you'll guess what it is because it's so freaking awesome. And that is the Mean Dog, which is driven by Wildcard. Now, in the United States of America, it came out, I'm just stalling so I can see when it came out. It came out in 1988, obviously a lot earlier than we got it. We got it in 1990 in the United Kingdom. Obviously it came on the G.I. Joe big box, and it came with that window box to show Wildcard. The UK version, there are no differences in the bio at all, like it's all pretty much exactly the same. And obviously I will read through his Wildcard's file card, amazing. But before I do that, I just want to talk through the art, because the box art is absolutely superb. Now, it's exactly the same on both the UK and US releases. You've got this beautiful vehicle. I think it's just so brilliant.
The G.I. Joe Mean Dog. Mean Dog's got a bad bite, looking for covert action to fight. But nobody beats G.I. Joe, a real American hero.
X-Wing comes with pilot, Mean Dog with driver.
It's a 3-part kind of separate kind of pieces that all come together to create this massive, like, split down the middle tank. It's so weird, but then so G.I. Joe. Doesn't seem to relate necessarily to much real world military vehicles. There's a lot of influences from lots of different things, like in this one, I think, like from my personal point of view. It separates into 3 parts, but before I get to that as well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The artwork is glorious. It features Wildcard at the front. In the front, I think it's called a scout car, the armored recon scout car. The back portion is being manned by Hardball in the kind of huge turret gun, and Hit and Run in the back section as well. So it's a really awesome piece of art. All the guns firing, a couple of missiles have been fired as well from those amazing missile launchers. Now let me get into the actual vehicle before I get into Wildcard. The vehicle is I just can't get enough of this thing. It's gorgeous. The front section has 2 front wheels. It has a little gun turret section for Wildcard or whoever you want to sit in there and be exposed and fire at people. But also it has 2 back wheels which are hidden initially and kind of slot into a space on the back portion of the vehicle, and kind of sit between 2 of the front wheels on that other vehicle. So you've got, like, almost in the middle section of the vehicle, you have like 4 wheels running across the middle of this vehicle. So you can obviously pull that Scout Recon car out, and that becomes its separate piece, and it's very easy to do so, but it also locks in nicely as well because the wheels butt up against a section of the middle piece. I would say the middle piece, it's the back section, but it's also technically the middle piece because it separates into 2 pieces. The back car has these 2 amazing missile launchers, like multiple missile launcher blocks on each side. They can slide out and kind of get a bit wider, and that also you can take out the turret, the gun turret at the back, and that becomes like a standalone kind of flak cannon type gun turret thing. It's really, really cool. So you've got, multiple spots for figures. I mean, it's one of those ones where you can't like load it out with tons of characters. They can sit on the side here and there, but for the most part you've got like 3 main spots that they can occupy. For such a big vehicle, that's probably the only downside, I think, for it. Considering the Desert Fox, which is much smaller, can fit 1, 2, 3, 4 standard issue kind of figures, like, without cramming more in. It seems quite interesting that a bigger vehicle can't have more people in it. But obviously the way it kind of connects and splits in different pieces, there's probably a big explanation why. Anyway, the vehicle's amazing. I love it. And I didn't have it as a kid. I was aware of it and really, really wanted it, but didn't pick this up until I was probably in my 20s as a collector. So this is one that kind of passed me by for a long, long period of time. Now, on the UK box, again, like I said, it's exactly the same artwork. The only difference is being that I find it funny that on the US boxes, they always had to put something like "weapons do not shoot" on the box front. Almost because it's like USA, man, it's a very litigious country. And if you were to buy something and the parent may look at the art and say, well, it's got the guns are firing and missiles are being fired off the side of it, so that should happen with the toy. And I'm kind of you kind of think, well, no.
The toy has to imitate the box art completely.
Almost exactly, and that's why they have to put these things on the boxes. Now, on the UK version, the G.I. Joe The Action Force version, which we got in 1990, we don't have that on there, which I find quite interesting. It's almost like, we can't be bothered to take people to court. We don't have the money for it, for a start. And also, Wildcard is in like a fake window box on that box as well. So you get, again, like it's like a picture of Wildcard as if he was fake in behind a window box, which is quite interesting. But again, I think saves on packaging. I think it's cheaper. Well, it is cheaper. Another thing I've noticed as well is the US, they would have like almost tiny small print underneath the vehicle driver to explain who he was. And on the US one, it's like includes Mean Dog, Driver, Wildcard with swivel arm battle grip, and then loads and loads of other small print to go with it. Right. On our one, it just says Wildcard in massive letters. It's like, this is, you know what it is, you know his name, let's move on. So it's almost like we don't like to, faff about. We just like to get everything on there and done. So obviously they're differences. Now I'll read through Wildcard's file card because I just like saying that. I think it's cute. File name, Eric U. Scott, or Scorick, or Scott Eric U, the G.I. Joe Mean Dog driver. Serial number 102650984. Primary military specialty, armoured vehicle operator. Secondary military specialty, chaplain's assistant. And obviously that's quite important in the G.I. Joe, I suppose, mythos, isn't it? And his birthplace is Northampton, but not our Northampton, Chief, as in Northampton, Massachusetts. Grady for Wildcard possesses an unnatural talent for breaking things. Sturdy steel machines, simple tools, delicate toys, immovable objects of cast iron, 8-piece dinner settings. Nothing is immune to his uncanny destructive powers. Fortunately, that which is judged to be an abominable affliction in civilian circles can be a valuable skill in military ones. And the quote is, when Wildcard is driving the Mean Dog, the vehicle becomes an extension of himself, a raging engine of destruction, pulverizing all in its path. If the enemy, by sheer luck, manages to knock out the Mean Dog, they then put themselves in the position of having to deal with Wildcard directly. You could go so far as to call that a violation of the Geneva Convention. And that is based, and Wildcard, I'll just quickly talk through him. At the time, he was a completely original figure with a new head sculpt, etc., etc. It's an interesting design with basically a green vest, kind of short, like ripped sleeves, nothing else on top. So he's basically one of the, this like Steamroller and Gung Ho, kind of putting it all out there for everyone to see. He's got an oversized green helmet, which I always thought looked really dorky on him. And obviously, the way he's depicted in the comics, that is a much sleeker design than the one that he got as a toy. Black little wrist guards, a tash, obviously, and these maroon trousers with grey shoes or boots, and a moulded gun on his left thigh in holster. So a very simple, basic figure. I mean, he was going to be with a vehicle, so they don't always go crazy on the detail with that. And he also comes with a pretty impressive sized machete and sheath, which actually plugs into his back, so he can, use it like a ninja would with his sword, which is quite another odd kind of design choice. But so he's got a machete. I think the weapon kind of matches his personality, but I think something like a hammer. I know Tollbooth got a hammer, but something like that, something that you see Road Pig with, like some kind of like tool or something, the wrench or the spanner that Cross Country got in the modern era. I think something along those lines would have been a lot better for him as a character. But anyway, that's Wildcard. And the Mean Dog, again, G.I. Joe The Action Force, UK release in 1990, and G.I. Joe A Real American Hero release in 1988.
Cool, good stuff. Big fan of that. Never had it. I'm trying to think if I knew anyone who had it themselves, but I don't think so I think I've only ever experienced it in comic form, but good vehicle, like it. More talking toys next week. I always look forward to that.
Talks toys.
Yeah, but we got a new segment coming in hot this week, which I only gave Chris a warning of 5 minutes before the show started, as I always do with new segments. Who needs to know in advance?
Keeps me on my toes.
and it's a segment we're calling British Colloquialisms, aka Over-Egging the Pudding. Where each week we will be giving the listeners, primarily the non-UK based listeners, a saying from in and around where we're from that will mean nothing to anyone else, and will probably need explaining. So we're going to try and limit this to, rather than just using obscure ones that we know of but don't really get used, we're going to try and bring to the party ones that have been used by us or other people in our lives in the last week. And the one that I'm going to go with, first of all, I actually used myself in this episode, where I said he was giving it the Charlie Big Spuds.
I was going to say, that was a classic that could have been, yeah.
So giving it the Charlie Big Spuds is basically giving it the big, you're the big man. So in this reference, we were talking about eating the 10 burgers, and he was saying that's easy, I can do 10 burgers in 20 bites in like 5 minutes. He was giving it the Charlie Big Spuds, giving it the large one. There's another one. I've done 2 there.
You just can't help but say another colloquialism.
Explain one to explain one, yeah.
Yeah, so, basically he's like big testicles.
Yeah, he's the big man on campus kind of syndrome, yeah. That was one the Americans will understand.
My one, I was really surprised when it caught an American off guard the other day, and I won't divulge the details of who it was. They're just a family member. But basically, I said at the end of a text message conversation, done and dusted, right?
Yep.
Which I thought is like, it's quite self-explanatory. It just means you've finished it and you've wiped it off.
Yeah. There you go.
You've finished and you've wiped it off. You've finished. You've got everything is sorted and ready, and all good. And he apparently got so confused that he was asking around for ages. He didn't want to respond until he knew what it meant, because he was embarrassed that I had said something that, and he didn't want to upset me by like going, "What does that mean?" Which I thought was hilarious. I thought done and dusted was something that, is kind of self-explanatory anyway.
It's global, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was global, but it's not. And I like to add done and dusted, covered in mustard. Or custard. So any of those will fit. So sometimes I'll say done and dusted, covered in mustard / custard. Yeah. So
yes, win.
Anyway, there we go.
I'm on board. Anyway, more from that next week.
That's my new favourite segment.
Is it?
Favourite segment? Yeah. I've got a list of those.
Well, you can only use it if it was used by you or someone else within the week.
In that week? Oh, I'm on it. I am on it. I'm using 50 of them in a week.
We've got one other bit of business to take care of, and that is Chief Ask Chris a question. Chief Ask Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief Ask Chris a question?
Wow.
I'm going to piggyback the theme from last week, which I think was where I asked you what your favourite colour lightsaber was. I'm going to stick with Star Wars for this week. What would be your favourite two-manned fighter craft? So you can either stick to the movies. You can
the movies, as you said the other day.
Or you can go expanded universe if you want to, I guess. But if you want to stick to, your X-wings, your A's, your B's, your Y's, or your TIE fighters, interceptors, whatever, TIE bombers. But if you want to go a bit deeper for some expanded universe stuff, up to you.
You want to know what it is?
Yeah, of course. That's the question. That's Chief Ask Chris a question. Come on, man. Get with the programme.
You want me to tell you the answer to this question? Yeah, yes. For me it's a snow speeder, 100%.
Snow speeder, yes.
Two-man, one at the front, one facing the other direction. For one, again, we're going to be talking toys here, but that is a toy I had and loved that as a kid. Like the lights and sounds aspect was just freaking amazing. Or lights, I might be making the sounds up. Did it have sounds?
I think it made sounds. That button on I think the button was on the back right, I think, and then the two glow sticks flashed, didn't they?
You see, I loved that vehicle like so much. And obviously I used to love kind of pretending to do that scene on Hoth when it goes round the legs of the AT-AT. Yeah. And a funny story, but I used to play this horrible game with my mate Nick at In Demand Toys and Mass at In Demand Toys. Big shout out to those guys. And we used to call it the AT-AT, and what we would do is if somebody farted, you would then run around the person, you'd run around the person next to you and try and, like, using the fart kind of trail,
Yes.
as the
as the tow rope.
as the tow rope, and then the other person would jokingly pretend to fall over like an AT-AT.
I like it.
And we did that a lot because obviously you can imagine cons and the amount of crap food that you end up eating. All three of you, or however many of you that are in that hotel room,
I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset that I was not aware of this story earlier today, because you can imagine the amount of farts I did after eating 10 burgers. I could have been doing that. I could have been running around people in the office just doing fart trails.
I think we called it the shat-at. I don't think we called it the at-at. We called it the shat-at for obvious reasons.
Yes, I like it. My favorite. One of my favourite scenes is, or one of my favourite bits is, I like the tiny little obscure bits. So my favourite bit from that whole scene is Wedge, who I'm a big fan of, just doing deadpanning. Good shot, Jansen.
Good shot, Jansen.
But that's just me. Anyway, there'll be another question for Chris next week.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm getting excited. I wanted for some reason I thought I was in a test again, like this morning. I thought I was going to get loads of questions.
No. Just the one, my friend, just the one. Don't get greedy. Next week, if you want to do your homework, we will be covering Special Missions all next week, and it is issues 18, 19, 20 and 21 of Special Missions. That's just a bit of a catch-up show because we're a bit behind chronologically with Special Missions. So all Special Missions next week, 18 to 21. You can catch us in the usual places, talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast. Big shout out to all the people that have been in contact this week. I don't have a list of names to hand, apologies, but appreciate all the kind words. Where can the people get hold of you if they want to chat to you for some unknown reason?
For unknown reasons, you can chat to me at most of the places as Diagnostic80, DIAGNOSTIK80, or just hit up the full force on multiple different platforms, on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and probably some other millions of places.
Do it. And with that said and done, we will catch you down the road.
Done and dusted. Bye.
Covered in mustard.